If Nintendo had shifted its focus to develop a Wii-like console from 1992 to 2002, without creating the Nintendo 64 or a GameCube, the timeline might look something like this. 1992 to 1994, early disc add-on development goal, build an advanced disc-based add-on for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES, exploring possibilities of multimedia and extended storage. Hardware prototypes. Prototype models feature a CD-ROM add-on for expanded memory and game content. Games tech demos tests SNES titles using enhanced graphics and sound capabilities through the CD-ROM add-on, similar to the Sega CD or Sony's PlayStation prototype concepts. Outcome. By 1994, Nintendo concludes that a disc-based add-on alone cannot meet long-term goals, deciding instead to work on a standalone console with these multimedia and storage capacities. 1995 to 1997, development of 3D graphics technology focus shift. Nintendo decides to pivot towards standalone development, aiming for a console that can support 3D graphics. Partnerships and hardware. RD collaborates with companies like Silicon Graphics to develop powerful 3D rendering capabilities similar to what would have been in the N64. Prototypes. Early hardware prototypes with basic 3D graphics capabilities and limited motion sensors are tested. These systems might resemble a cross between the N64 and early GameCube concepts in form factor and functionality. Game development. Nintendo explores the potential for 3D platformers and action games, similar to what would eventually become Super Mario 64. Using these early prototypes. 1998, introduction of motion controls. New concept. Nintendo begins experimenting with rudimentary motion controls, focusing on tilt sensing and movement-based interaction. Prototype testing. Early prototypes with gyroscopic sensors or basic accelerometers are created. Games are developed to test these motion-based interactions, possibly in simple minigame formats. Development challenges. The technology is costly and hard to refine at first, but Nintendo sees the potential for a new way to interact with games. 1999, console reveal. At E3 reveal of Nintendo Revolution, Nintendo announces their new console, potentially named something like the Nintendo Revolution. Earlier in development specifications. The console includes disc-based storage, CDs or DVDs, 3D graphics capabilities on par with or slightly better than the PS1/N64 era, early motion controls, basic tilting and limited gestures compatible with SNES controllers as a backup. Launch titles teased, games that would leverage both 3D graphics and motion controls, with titles that could resemble Super Mario 64 or early versions of Luigi's Mansion and Wave Race with motion mechanics. 2000 to 2002, final development and launch refinement phase. Nintendo works on perfecting the motion controls, optimizing graphics, and ensuring a broad game library. Software focus. Game studios develop titles specifically designed for motion controls and 3D environments, shaping a unique lineup at launch. Console launch. 2001-2002, the console, possibly named the Nintendo Wii, launches worldwide with a range of first-party games and an emphasis on social and family-friendly titles. In this timeline, Nintendo's earlier adoption of motion controls and disc-based storage leads to a console with 3D gaming and motion interaction nearly a decade earlier than in our reality. The lack of an N64 or a GameCube would likely impact game graphics and mechanics, but Nintendo's focus on innovation and accessibility remains strong, setting the stage for even more ambitious projects in the future. 4.0